So in this video, we are going to discuss the second method to estimate the values of beta 0 or beta 1, that is the y-intercept and slope for the simple linear regression method. The second method that I am calling it as the gradient descent algorithm. And so far we have discussed that in our previous earlier videos, we have discussed that the objective of the linear regression method is to predict the values for beta 0 and beta 1, where beta 0 and beta 1 are the y-intercept and the slope of the assumed relationship, that is the line. And in our earlier video, we saw that ordinary least square method or ordinary least square is one of the method which is based upon the theory of statistics to estimate the values of beta 0 and beta 1. Here the here I am explaining in very brief the method called ordinary least square, so that you can be in a better position to understand the differences between ordinary least square method and the gradient descent algorithm. The ordinary least square method works upon to minimize the error, which is calculated like this: y is the true value and this error, that is beta 0 minus beta 1 x, is the predicted value, and this difference is nothing but the error, and we are calling it as the residual sum of squares because it is the sum of the square of the error terms. And in order to find the values of beta 1, we are differentiating this term residual sum of squares with respect to the beta 1, and in order to find the beta 0, we are differentiating this error term, that is the residual sum of squares, with respect to beta 0, and these are the equations that we got in our earlier videos with for beta 0 and beta 1. And using this equation, we have established um, uh, we have estimated the values of beta 0 and beta 1 for our running example of predicting end semester examination marks from the given mid semester examination mark and the classroom attendance. So in this video, what I am going to do is that first I am going to explain the intuition behind our second method, that is the gradient descent. Then we are trying to understand the mathematics that lies behind the gradient descent algorithm, and finally I will be giving you the algorithm which will estimate the values of beta 0 and beta 1. So before starting to the actual algorithm, let us I am here explaining the very key points or the important points which are in theoretical in nature that you should remember with respect to gradient descent algorithm. The gradient descent algorithm is a supervisory algorithm. It means that it takes a training data set in which uh, the output is labeled, and such kinds of algorithms are called as supervisory algorithms, and the gradient descent algorithm is supervisory algorithm. The gradient descent, the second most important point that we must remember is that gradient descent algorithm is a iterative process. Iterative process means that it repeats again and again and again, and unlike the ordinary least square method in which you got the values of beta 1 and beta 0 in one shot operation by substituting by solving this equation. Unlike this one shot operation, the gradient descent algorithm is a iterative process. And why this iterative process is required, that initially it makes some guess with respect to our beta 0 and beta 0 and beta 1, and it calculates the um, error. If the error is calculates the error between the predicted value and the true value, and the process of the iteration continues if the error is unacceptable or does not exceed the specified iteration count. And that's why this process is the repetitive or the iterative process. It goes on guessing the values of beta 0 and beta 1 in each and every iteration, and it selects the that guessed value which which gives you minimum error. And when the minimum error gets, the process of iteration stops. So that is the underlying operation of gradient descent algorithm. The gradient descent algorithm is completely guessing of slopes and parameters. So let us here again the gradient descent algorithm. One of the important characteristics of the gradient descent algorithm, like the OLS method, ordinary least square method, it identifies a regression line or a best fit line. The regression line that we have seen, that regression line is a line which is passing through the points which are nearest to all the data points. These are our data points, and this line is not passing through the data points, but it is passing through those points which are nearest to all the data points. And that's why this line is either called as the regression line or the best fit line. Like the OLS method, the gradient descent algorithm also tries to find the equation for regression line or the best fit line. And here I am explaining the gradient descent algorithm with respect to our running example of predicting the end semester mark from the mid semester marks. Here the end semester marks are the output and the mid semester marks are the input. And when the values of the outputs are known, here see values of the output for the end semester examination are are known for finding the best fit line, and such kinds of data is called as the training data set. And the training data set includes the labeled output. When the values of the outputs are given, it is called as the labeled output. And gradient descent algorithms works on the labeled data set, which is the training data set, and it tries to identify the best fit line, like the ordinary least square method. Unlike the ordinary least square method, the gradient descent algorithm is the iterative process. Now here I am referring the mid-semester examination marks as X and end semester examination mark as the Y. So this is my X vector and this is my Y vector. So and this is my output and this is my input. So and this is also the training data set that I am using to explain the working of the gradient descent algorithm. Here in all there are 9 entries are there in my data set. So this is small and simple data set. Now see, the basic operation in the gradient descent algorithm is guessing. So and it guesses the values for beta 0 and beta 1, which are also known as the M and C, or the sorry, C and M here. M is the slope of the line, and Y is the M is the slope of the line and C is the y-intercept. Now, and this is the iterative process. Here I have explaining this is my first iteration, this is my second iteration, this is my third iteration, and this is my fourth iteration. So, in the first iteration, what I am doing is that I am guessing the values of beta 0 and the beta 1, which is nothing but the m and the c, are equal to 0. When the values of beta 0 and the beta 1 are guessed as the mm, value, then this equation y equal to mx plus x becomes x multiplied by 0 plus 0, which is nothing but the 0. So value of y or the predicted end semester marks becomes 0 for all data points. So that's why here all data points values are 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0. And hence the error now is the difference between this predicted end semester examination marks and the actual true end semester mark. So here the difference is the 42, and this 42 I have squared it. So this is the squared value of error. So here the square value of error it becomes the 170.64 for this data point. Now similarly, I calculated the error for all other points. Let us, for example, the second data point, the error estimated value is 0 and the end semester examination are 39. So difference is the 39. This is the 39 square. So after calculating the error for all such things, I have identified the average value of error. And here the average value of error is this much, 1749 at the end of my first iteration. So during each iteration, the algorithm works on all the data instances 0 to 9. So it calculates the error for all the points 0 to 9, and it adds all the errors together and finds the average value of the error. So in the second iteration, what I am trying to do is that I am trying to increment my guessing value by 0.5. Now earlier value of m is 0, and now new value of m becomes m equal to 0.5 and c equal to 0.5. So the equation of the line becomes like this now. Y equal to m is now 0.5 x plus c, which is nothing but the 0.5. So in order to predict the value of end semester marks for the first reading, what I will do is that 0.5 multiplied by 10 plus 0.5, which means that it comes to be around 5.5. So end semester examination for the first data points are the 5. Similarly, for 7 means I will take the half of 7, that is 3.5, and add 0.5 into that. So that's why it becomes the 4. So predicted value of second data point is 4. Now similarly, I have calculated the predicted value of for all the data points, and these are the different predicted values. Now in our like in the previous case, I have calculated the error. Now see uh, the here the end semester exam for the first data point, the end semester examinations are 5.5, and end semester true value of end semester examinations are 32. So the error difference is between the 5.5 minus 32 whole square is this much. So like that I have calculated the error for each and every terms like this. These are the different values, and when all these errors are added together, it will come to be a point 13,000 sorry 1340.1. So this is the error at the end of second iteration. Now let us take the third iteration now. Now, in the third iteration, what I am going to do is that I am adding 0.5 to my previous iteration. That is, m is 0.5 and c is 0.5. So, m and c becomes now m equal to 1 and c equal to also 1. So, my equation of the line becomes y equal to mx, means m is 1 here, and x plus 1 is my equation of the line. So end semester examination marks at the end of are nothing but like the mid semester examination mark in which 1 is added. So in the first case 10 it becomes the 11, 7 it becomes the 8. When the marks are the mid semester examination are 3 it becomes the 4, 16 it becomes 17, 9 it becomes 10. So this is the equation that I have used to predict the end semester examination mark. And after finding the end semester examination mark for each and every data instance, what I did is that I identified the error now. See, here the predicted value is 11 for the first data point and the actual marks are the 42. 42 minus 11 whole square. So that will come to be around 961. For the second data point, the predicted actual value is 39. The predicted value is 8 whole square. So the error will become this much. So like this, I have calculated the error for all the data instances, and at the end the average value of the error is 990.02. See what is happening here now from these three different instances. You can observe that the value of error is reducing here. See, initially it was 1740. Now it is becoming like this and it is decreasing. So all these errors are going to decrease. Now suppose at the end of around 21st iteration, this is the 21st iteration, the value of m is 10 and value of c is equal to also 10. Now the equation of the line will become something like this: 10 times m plus 10. So the predicted marks are 10 times this mid semester examination and 10s are added. So 10 multiplied by 100 for the first instance plus 10. So the predicted marks are now 110. Here the actual error marks were the 42. Now the error is this much. Now here the actual marks are the 7. So predicted marks here becomes 40. Like this, I have calculated the marks for each and every students, and error I have calculated, and this error now it will become this much, 12,006. Now you observe one thing here is that now from this point the error has increased. It earlier it was decreasing, now it is increasing. So when you cross a point, the initially the error was decreasing and after some point the error was increased. You will get the graph of like this. So this is the nature of the iteration operation that is followed in estimating the values of beta 0 and beta 1. Now the important point that we must remember from this table is that uh, we can guess the values of m and calculate the error. Error initially it tries to gets reduced and then it starts increasing. Now, if you plot a graph of error versus our points like beta 0 or beta 1 and or m comma c, the graph is like this. So here earlier 1749 for 0, then for 0.5 it was 13.40, for 1 it was 990.02. So the graph is like this. And this point at which the error was 0, we are interested in to know which is that point. And the gradient descent algorithm help us to find this point. Now, why it is called the gradient descent algorithm? See, why it is called the gradient descent algorithm. Let me split this gradient descent term in two component. One is the gradient component and another is called as the descent component. Descent means coming from top position to the lowermost position. Suppose that if you plotted a graph of error, this is the error on z axis. On y axis if you have taken suppose slope or the beta 1 and beta 0. So you will get a three-dimensional graph of like this, and this graph corresponds to a hill. And the gradient descent algorithm works like this, that you are standing at the position hilltop and you want to come down from the hilltop to the ground position, that is the lower position, and you can come down by taking a smaller steps and reach to the ground. So this process of coming down is nothing but the descent. And this nature, see, this portion of the graph is corresponds to this hill, and our error position is like this, and we want to reach like this position, either this position or this position or this position or this position. So there are many lower positions are available, and these are called as the minimum value or the minima. I think I have explained here the term descent. Now let us try to understand why we require a gradient, or what is the meaning of gradient in the gradient descent algorithm. Now see here, this is the nature of the graph that we got when we have plotted the error versus either m or c or beta 0 or beta 1, and we have seen that our error is increasing earlier and then decreasing, and we can start guessing either from this point or from this point. Suppose that if we want to started guessing from this point, then we want to increase the values of either m or c, and if we have started the our guessing from this point, then this point corresponds to this, and our lower minimum value is in this direction, that is the left direction, means that we require to decrease the values of m and c. Let me clarify this thing again. Our guessing may start from either this position or this position, and if we start the this position, we will need to increase the values of m or c, and if we start the guessing from this point, we need to decrease the values of m and c. Similarly, at some instance of the point during the calculation process, our error initially was decreasing, and then it was continuously going on increasing. When the error starts increasing, we need to reverse the counting process, and that's why we require to change two things. We need to decide upon the incremental values by which we are incrementing the values of m and c, like in our illustrated example it was 0.5. And another thing that we need to decide about, either we want to increase the by plus 0.5 or minus 0.5. So this information is also required, and this information is called as the direction. And this direction is given by taking a slope or a tangent at this position. This tangent, another term of for the tangent is the gradient. The gradient tells us whether to increase the values of our guessed values of uh, beta 0 and beta 1, or whether we want to decrease the guessed values of beta 0 and beta 1. So gradient gives us that direction, whether we should increase or whether we should decrease. So that's why this algorithm is called as the gradient descent algorithm. Now, after developing this broad intuition of the working of gradient descent algorithm, let us try to understand what is the mathematics behind the gradient descent algorithm. The objective of the gradient descent algorithm is to minimize the error in prediction, and that's why we are going to use some error function. See here, let us consider y is our true value, that is that we get from the data set, and y dash is our predicted value that we can calculate from the this linear equation y dash equal to mx plus c or y dash equal to beta 0 plus beta 1x. Now the error function that we are going to use in gradient descent algorithm, which is also known as cost function or optimization function. There are many names for the error functions are there. This error function is defined by this equation. This is similar to the earlier error function that we have used, but we have made some um, mm, we have made it some convenient. So this is nothing but our predicted value. This is the true value, and this difference is nothing but the error, and this is the error square. We have calculated, we have added all the individual error terms, divided it by n, and then taken the value of average of by divided the average value by 2, or we have taken the half of the average of residual sum of squares. So why we have taken the half? Because we are going to see that it makes the calculation somewhat convenient. Now in the second equation, what I did is that I have substituted the values of predicted term from here yi dash, which is nothing but the beta 0 times beta 1 times xi. This is nothing but the predicted value or the y dash, and the rest of the terms are the same. Now, in order to find the value of beta 1, in our ordinary least square method, we need to use the partial derivative here now. I think all of you know what does it mean by the partial derivative. Partial derivatives are taken when the equation, when the function involves more than one variable like x, y, and we take the partial derivative by keeping with respect to one variable by keeping all other variables constant. Now here the value of beta 1 is expressed in by this equation. Here this is the new value of the beta 1 and this is the old value of the beta 1 because this is the repetitive process. That's why here the new value of the beta 1 is calculated from the old value of the beta 1, and there is this one term called alpha. Alpha is nothing but here the learning rate by means of which we are going to increment or the decrement of the our value. Learning rate of our previous example was 0.5, and we need to know whether we want to increase or decrease, and that increase or the decrease is provided by taking the partial derivative. When you are finding the value of beta 1, the partial derivative is taken with respect to the beta 1. Now, see, in this equation, we have calculated the new value of beta 1 from the old value of beta 1 and alpha learning rate, that is the alpha, and by taking the partial derivative. Why we are taking the partial derivative? Because partial derivative takes us, gives the direction in which we want to descend, or whether we want to increase the value or the decrease the new value. So that information we obtain from the gradient by taking the partial derivative. Partial derivative calculates the gradient or the tangent or the slope of the line. Now in the second equation, what I did is that I substituted the error function. The error function here that I have defined here, this error function has been substituted here, which is nothing but half of the average of residual sum of the squares, and I have taken the partial derivative. I think from the 12th standard you know that how to take the partial derivative. Derivative of, suppose this is the ax plus b, you want to take the derivative this is a y, this dy by dx is equal to 2 times ax plus b, and the derivative of ax, which is nothing but the a. So similarly, we are going to use this formula to calculate the partial derivative now here. And when we are taking the partial derivative with respect to the beta 1, all other terms are constant except this. And we have taken these two here. Then 1 is subtracted from the 2, that it becomes 1. And the this term is constant, this term is constant, so their derivative is 0, and this terms has the beta 1 coefficient, involves the beta 1 term, and its coefficient is the xi. So that's why here we have written the xi. Now after cancelling out these two and these two, we get this equation. Now this is the value of the beta 1. Beta 1 is in terms of new value of the beta 1 is equal to the old value of beta 1 minus alpha time divided by n, sum of I from I to n, all the individual terms, and this is nothing but our error function multiplied by the ith value of the x. So this is the beta 1. In this way the beta 1 is calculated. Now similarly, to calculate the beta 0, we are again applying the error function. The new value of beta 0 is calculated from the old value of beta 0 minus alpha times partial derivative of error function with respect to beta 0. Now when we take the partial derivative of this term with respect to the beta 0 has coefficient 1, that's why we have taken the 1, and this is the value of beta 0. The new value of beta 0 is calculated from the old value of beta 0 minus alpha divided by n. This term and the previous term has only one difference. Here we have multiplied this term by xi, and here we are not multiplying it by xi. Now this is the gradient descent algorithm. The gradient descent algorithm takes two different input. This is the first input is our input vector or the input features up to n data points, and these are the our output data points. Y here in this case it is the MSc. In this case this is our end semester examination mark, and it goes on calculating the values of beta 0 and beta 0 and beta 1 by solving these two equations by simultaneously substituting the values of beta 0 and beta 1 in order to calculate the error. And this iteration process continues until we get a minimal value of error or the number of iteration counts exceeds. So this loop terminates only when the error is acceptable one or the number of iteration that we have programmed exceeds. So in under these two circumstances, the this loop gets terminated. Now here I would like to bring your attention to some of the new terms that we have introduced during the course of while explaining the gradient descent algorithm. First is the learning rate. Learning rate is programmed here. The learning rate gives us the incremental value in during each iteration by which we are going to increase the values of that we have guessed for the slope and the y-intercept. Then number of iterations is another parameter that is required, means how many number of times we want to continue the iteration process. And the third important parameter is the cost function. In this case, the cost function that we have defined is here. This is our the cost function. So this cost function is used to our objective of the gradient descent algorithm is to find the minimal value for the cost function. So this is all about the gradient descent algorithm, and these parameters, that is the learning rate, number of iteration, and hyperfunctions, are general purpose. They are applicable to all other machine learning algorithms, and for this particular gradient descent algorithm, these are called as the hyperparameters, because these parameters are deciding the working of our gradient descent algorithms. The gradient descent algorithm is also the parametric algorithm in which we are estimating the parameters like beta 0 and the beta 1 of the model, which is nothing but the slope and the y-intercept. And these are the hyperparameters. Hyperparameters help us to find out these parameters, and the hyperparameters for the gradient descent algorithm are learning rate, number of iteration, and the cost function. Thank you.